March 24, 1945. In the dimly lit Combat Information Center of the USS Bush, positioned northwest of Okinawa, the soft green glow of the SG surface search radar painted ethereal blips across the screen like whispers from the void. Radar operator Second Class James Patterson fine-tuned the gain knob, watching as the sweep arms circled again, revealing a cluster of echoes. Bearing 340 degrees, range 62 miles, over 50 aircraft inbound from the Japanese home island of Kyushu. Commander Roland E. Westholm gripped the TBS radio handset tightly. Task Force 58 had established 16 radar picket stations encircling Okinawa, forming an invisible electronic barrier that no enemy plane could slip through unnoticed. What the American sailors didn't fully grasp yet was that this cutting-edge advantage would provoke the most ferocious and unrelenting aerial onslaught in the annals of naval warfare. The Imperial Japanese Navy's Kamikaze Special Attack Forces had one singular mission: pierce the American defenses and exchange their lives for Allied warships. The radar picket destroyers, those lonely outposts on the edge of the battle, would bear the brunt as the first line of defense. Breach them, and the invasion fleet anchoring off Okinawa would lie naked to destruction. In this grim calculus of war, the arithmetic of sacrifice had supplanted classic naval tactics. One pilot, one aircraft, one enemy vessel sunk. The Pacific conflict had evolved these nimble American destroyers from mere submarine chasers into vigilant electronic guardians. Each radar picket station was strategically placed between 15 and 95 miles from Point Biolo, a key reference marker on Okinawa's Zampa Misaki Peninsula. By April 1, 7 stations were active, with 9 more coming online as the campaign intensified. The USS Laffey sliced through the rolling Pacific waves at 15 knots, her Allen M. Sumner-class hull displacing 200 tons of ocean. Commander Frederick Julian Beckton paced the bridge, his eyes scanning the horizon, while in the CIC below, officers pored over radar repeats. The ship housed 336 souls and bristled with an array of anti-aircraft weaponry tailored to shred incoming threats: 6 5-inch dual-purpose guns and 3 twin turrets, 12 40mm Bofors and 2 quad and 2 twin mounts, 11 20mm Oerlikon cannons scattered across her decks, and the pinnacle of wartime innovation: the latest fire control radars that would etch their mark on history. The Mark 37 gun fire control system, paired with the Mark 25 radar, turned guesswork into precision. The Combat Information Center was the nerve hub of American naval ingenuity, a far cry from the rudimentary plotting rooms of 1942. Here, multiple radars fused into a cohesive tactical picture: air search extending beyond 60 miles, surface search to 15 miles, height-finding gear to pinpoint enemy altitudes, and fighter direction networks linking the destroyer to swarms of combat air patrols circling above. The math was transformative. Old-school visual gunnery hit maneuvering planes less than 2% of the time. Radar-guided fire boosted that to 20% in ideal scenarios. Add in proximity-fused shells that exploded near targets without needing direct impacts, and the defensive power surged exponentially. Lieutenant Howell Chickering commanded LCS L-51, one of the landing craft support vessels bolstering the pickets. His view was stark: these destroyers were deliberate lures stationed to draw kamikaze swarms away from the heart of the fleet. Attract the divine wind to the outskirts, summon fighter cover via radio vectors, and annihilate them before they could ravage the carriers and troop transports. Across the sea at Kanoya Airfield on Kyushu, Lieutenant Yukio Seiki, pioneer of organized kamikaze strikes, briefed pilots from the 201st Air Group. Operation Kikusui No. 1, Floating Chrysanthemums, would unleash 355 kamikaze planes alongside 341 conventional bombers and synchronized waves. The youngest flyer was just 17, his training a mere 7 days, basics in formation flying and ship identification, 2 days of takeoff drills, 2 more in group maneuvers, 3 practicing dives on mock targets. Navigation was rudimentary. Escort fighters would herd them to the battle zone. Evasive tactics? Irrelevant. Their sole skill needed was to steer straight and plunge. Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi had formalized kamikaze units in October 1944, with Seiki leading the inaugural strike that sank the USS St. Lo on October 25. What started as desperate improvisation became calculated doctrine. These Japanese aviators grasped American radar prowess better than their superiors admitted. The Picket destroyers weren't mere sentries. They orchestrated fighter intercepts 50 miles out. Yet the system had a glaring flaw: isolation. Spaced 30 to 60 miles apart, without overlapping fire support, a single ship could be swamped by a massive assault before reinforcements arrived. The TACO, special attack, equation was ruthless. If 1 in 6 kamikazes struck home, Japan gained the edge: 1 life and an outdated plane for hundreds of Americans and a multi-million-dollar warship. As dawn crept over the horizon on April 6, 1945, U.S. ships solidified their defensive rings. Each station patrolled a 5,000-yard radius, destroyer at the core, 2 to 4 support craft in a diamond array, cruising at 15 knots, reversing course every half hour to foil lurking submarines. Radar revolutionized the seascape into an electronic arena. The SC-2 air search radar scanned the heavens every 4 seconds. SG surface search monitored the waves relentlessly. Mark 12 and Mark 22 fire control radars locked on specific foes for pinpoint barrages. SP height finders gauged altitudes for optimal intercepts. Combat air patrols, typically 2 F-6F Hellcats or F-4U Corsairs per station during daylight, provided aerial muscle, but the expanses were immense. Carrier response time to distant pickets, 20 to 30 minutes at best. Those precious minutes spelled life or death. At 0300 hours on April 6, radar scopes across the picket line lit up with the vanguard of Kikusui No. 1. Over 100 contacts swarming from the northwest. Fighter Director Officer Lieutenant Frank Adams vectored his CAP to engage. 2 Corsairs versus 30-plus kamikazes. The odds were dire. The attackers had dipped to wave-top level, exploiting the radar horizon to cloak their final dash. On USS Bush at Radar Picket Station No. 1, the CIC buzzed with urgency. Tracks showed raids from all compass points. Raid 1, 40 planes at 340 degrees. Raid 2, 20-plus at 015. Raid 3, unknown strength at 285. Commander Westholm had drilled his gunners relentlessly. Track relentlessly. Open fire at 12,000 yards even without perfect solutions, sustain max rate until the threat splashed or overshot. No ceasefires for IFF. Anything inbound was enemy. Bush's trial ignited at 1,500 hours. After splashing 2 scouts, a Nakajima B-6N, Jill, torpedo bomber pierced the flak curtain, slamming between her stacks on the starboard side. Its bomb detonated in the forward engine room, venting superheated steam that claimed 14 lives instantly. Yet Bush fought on, damage parties battling blazes as guns roared at fresh targets. By 1700, USS Colhoun raced to aid, towing 4 CAP fighters in her wake. Chaos erupted. 40 to 50 Japanese planes buzzed the duo like enraged hornets. Colhoun absorbed her first hit at 1730, a Zero plowing into her main deck. 3 more kamikazes followed in a deadly cascade. Commander Anthony Rorschach ordered abandoned ship as Colhoun fractured and vanished beneath the waves, taking 35 crewmen with her. Bush endured, but at 1725, a second kamikaze gouged her port side between stacks, nearly cleaving her asunder. At 1745, a third struck port above the main deck, igniting ammo caches and spreading infernos uncontrollably. By 1830, Bush capsized and sank, 87 of her 307-man complement lost, including staff from Commander Destroyer Division 48 aboard as observers. Survivors bobbed in oil-slick seas for up to 10 hours until LCS L-64 arrived at 21:30, hauling weary men aboard amid lingering air threats. The tally for April 6 was harrowing. Kamikazes sank destroyers Bush, Colhoun, and Emmons, a destroyer minesweeper, plus 2 ammo ships, 10 others mauled. But the Pickets had succeeded. The main fleet at Higuchi Roads escaped unscathed. These valiant destroyers had soaked up the wrath intended for the invasion armada. Fast forward to April 15, 1945. USS Laffey relieved USS J. William Ditter at Station No. 1. Commander Beckton huddled with his officers, dissecting evolved Japanese tactics, dawn and dusk infiltrations in small packs, lone wolves hiding in clouds or squalls, multi-axis strikes to saturate defenses. Okinawa's closeness to Kyushu and Formosa meant no respite, general quarters from sunrise to sunset, often bleeding into night. Laffey had weathered kamikazes at Lingayen Gulf and Iwo Jima, but this was apocalypse level. On April 16, peril unfolded as predicted. At 0727, radar pinged a singleton at 020 degrees, 11 miles out, a Aichi D3A Val, skimming waves, backlit by the rising sun. Beckton barked orders, hard right rudder, flank speed. Laffey heeled over, surging past 30 knots. The Val adjusted, zeroing on the bridge. At 2000 yards, starboard batteries unleashed hell. The plane shrugged off hits until a 5-inch proximity burst shredded its wing at 500 yards, tumbling it into the drink 50 yards off the hull. A close shave, but merely the overture. By 0800, CIC reported doom, 50-plus aircraft in splinter groups converging. CAP engaged valiantly but outgunned. What ensued was 80 minutes of destroyer legend, 22 kamikazes assaulting Laffey in waves. The first 8 fell to surgical gunnery, crews in sync, tracking, concentrating fire, switching targets seamlessly upon splash. No cheers, just grim focus. The next bogey always loomed. At 0827, the 9th, a Yokosuka D4Y Judy slipped through astern, where armament was sparsest. Riddled by 40mm and 20mm, it still crunched into gun mount 53, the aft 5-inch turret. The blast slew 6, including Mount Captain Gunner's Mate First Class Lawrence A. Delisky, directing in local control. Flames licked the fantail, ready ammo cooked off. Mount 53 wrecked, 16% of heavy firepower gone. Minutes later, the 10th Judy hammered the aft deckhouse, obliterating 2 20mm mounts and crews. Fires raced toward the aft magazine. Damage control squads waged desperate war with hoses and foam. At 0830, an 11th Val bombed between stacks, piercing to the machine shop before erupting. Steam lines burst, power flickered, mounts 42 and 43 switched to manual, fire rate halved. By 0900, Laffey's Nadir, 4 kamikazes from quadrants, overwhelming systems tracking only 2. One Val cratered a mount, another gashed port near waterline, a third bombed the aft engine room, the fourth splashed 100 yards out to frantic close fire from 20mm gunner seaman Ari Footrides, bleeding from shrapnel but unyielding. Laffey blazed bow to stern, rudder jammed left in endless circles, speed crawling at 8 knots. A third of the crew down, 32 dead, 71 wounded by battle's end. 6 mounts crippled or silent. Beckton fielded grim reports but held firm. When Assistant Communications Officer Lieutenant Frank Manson queried abandoning ship, Beckton's retort echoed eternity. "No, I'll never abandon ship as long as a single gun will fire." A lookout murmured, "And if I can find one man to fire it." 4 more kamikazes pressed in the next 20 minutes, gunners felled 3. The fourth, a Zero with 550-pound bomb, rammed the forward stack base, heaving the bridge before slamming it down. CIC crew blacked out amid smoke. Radars died for 3 agonizing minutes. Laffey blind. The 20th kamikaze exploited the void. No warning, no coordination. Gunner's Mate First Class Robert Carr on Mount 44 spied a Val diving from 8,000 feet. Manual mode be damned. His team tracked and blazed. The Val detonated 500 feet overhead, debris raining down. The 21st, a Nakajima B-5 and Kate, from astern, veiled in Laffey smoke, targeted the forward magazine. Footrides, still at his battered 20mm, spotted it 400 yards out, stitching tracers into its engine. The Kate faltered, plunged 30 yards port, its blast dousing flames with seawater. Ironic mercy. The 22nd and finale at 0947, ammunition dwindling, firepower at 30%, crew spent. LCS, L-51, under Chickering, interposed herself, max speed. The Val overflew her by 50 feet, gear grazing the mast. Chickering's gunners gutted its underside. It trailed fire, splashing 100 yards from Laffey. Silence descended. Laffey had defied 22 kamikazes, struck by 6 planes and 4 bombs. 32 perished, 71 hurt. Yet she floated. Her gunners expended 8,000 plus rounds, splashing 9 outright, maiming 4 to miss or abort. Radar held locks amid havoc. Proximity fuses amplified lethality. CIC orchestrated even crippled. Technology and tenacity triumphed over fanaticism. The Okinawa radar Picket network heralded a paradigm shift in sea power. Electronics eclipsed armor and velocity. These destroyers weren't scouts. They commanded a 3D battle space, 60 miles horizontal, 30,000 feet vertical. Picket-based fighter directors managed 5,000 plus intercepts, splashing 1,900 foes pre-strike. Radar pierced night storm smoke, processed data beyond human ken, guided ordnance unerringly. But the toll, over 82 days, Pickets endured hell. 12 destroyers and 3 destroyer minesweepers sunk on duty, 45 damaged, 907 sailors killed or wounded fleet-wide from kamikazes, with Pickets claiming the lion's share. To weave in the broader war, while Pacific destroyers battled divine winds, Atlantic counterparts used radar against German U-boats and Luftwaffe. Developed pre-war, radar bridge theaters, CXAM air search on carriers at Pearl, SC series on destroyers hunting wolf packs. In Europe, radar-directed guns shredded V-1 buzz bombs over England. At Normandy, Picket-like screens warded Luftwaffe raids. Against Germany, radar turned the Battle of the Atlantic, detecting subsurface for charges, vectoring aircraft. Japan lacked equivalent. Their radar lagged, primitive sets on fused ships. America's industrial might churn 200-plus radar units monthly. Japan's plane output dwindled to. On May 4th, Kikusui No. 5 sank Morrison and Luce at Station No. 1. Morrison endured 4 hits in minutes, sinking with 152 of 331 lost. Radar tracked flawlessly, guns blazed, but 40 versus 1 sealed fate. Captain Rikio Hayashi, kamikaze architect, post-war reflected. American destroyers displayed unmatched valor. Their radar surprised us. They monitored our assemblies over bases, trailed us oceans away. Fire control lethal. But he conceded. We erred thinking Pickets isolated. Radar linked them to vast nets. Attacking one invoked dozens of ships, hundreds of planes. The chasm unbridgeable. Obsolete Japanese crates, green pilots versus radar-guided proximity shells, vectored fighters. Warrior ethos yielded to technicians' domain. By May 11th, Japan adapted. Weather exploits degrading radar, low-altitude masts via islands, chaff for ghosts. Yet US countered faster, enhanced SP height finders plugged gaps, refined IFF curbed blue-on-blue, intership data links unified stations. Advantage snowballed. USS UW. Hadley at Station 15 on May 11th exemplified maturity. Under 150-plus attackers, CIC juggled 6 plots, directing 12 CAP, sinking fire with supports, 23 splashes. Hadley mauled but afloat, 28 dead, 67 wounded. Sans radar, oblivion. Commander Baron J. Mulaney. Picket duty akin to infantry point, exposed, first hit. But radar granted eagle eyes, foreseeing doom 50 miles out. Industrially decisive, U.S. yards spewed radars. Japan couldn't replenish pilots or planes. Attrition boomeranged, Japanese resolve unbroken, but resources evaporated. Each kamikaze sortie, months investment wasted. Damaged U.S. ships repaired, upgraded, crews seasoned. June 22, 1945, Okinawa secured after 82 days. Pickets tracked thousands, vectored to 900 raids, engaged 600 penetrators. strategically, blueprint for Operation Downfall, Japan invasion. Vast picket webs, centralized direction on command ships. Admiral Mato Migaki, 5th Air Fleet head, pre his August 15th Kamikaze finale. American pickets erect invisible walls. Our pilots shatter like birds on glass, targets visible, unattainable. Tech vanquishes spirit. USS Laffey endured post-war, serving 30 years, now museum. Her radars, quaint today, sparked revolution, beyond sight detection, multi-target tracking, precision direction. Becton mused. Okinawa proved wars won not by bravest or most sacrificial, but best tech and production. Pickets embodied U.S. superiority. Cost: 5,000 naval casualties on pickets. 1. 465 kamikaze sorties, of 900 total at Okinawa, hundreds of youth futilely expended. From ashes, insight, electronics rule future wars. Info dominance trumps firepower, data speed wins. Pickets didn't just repel kamikazes, they birthed modern conflict. Pacific depths cradle sunken destroyers beside Japanese wrecks, crews bravery eternal. But legacy, tech's ascendancy. Radar operators and shadowed CICs outshone admirals. Math supplanted gut. Victory to sensor savvy, processor proficient nations. Okinawa's pickets didn't merely triumph, they foretold electronic warfare's era, forged in steel, blood, unyielding American resolve. Their radars didn't just spot death, they empowered its defeat, safeguarding freedom's fleet.